Hey everyone, Brian Lee here with another video tutorial. Today I'm going to talk about how to host a BBS software using DOSBox. Now I would like to state for the record that DOSBox I don't feel like is the greatest solution to host a BBS software, but it may be necessary. Suppose you're running a 64-bit operating system and you want to host a BBS from that. Well, old BBS software is 16-bit code, and it just won't run underneath a 64-bit operating system like Windows 10 or Server 2019, 2020, or whatever server version they're on now. This is Server 2016, just for the sake of this tutorial. So in that instance, it may be necessary. Now there's two methods you could do this. You can obviously just start up DOSBox, and you can type in serial1 equals modem, and then listen, tell it the port number. In fact, if it's 23, you don't even have to add that line. You could just do serial1 equals modem, and it automatically knows port 23. But if you want to change the port, that's what you do. You just type in the listen port. And this is fine. This will work. You can start your BBS software that way. But you can only have 4 nodes. 4 people could be on your system at one time, and that may be fine. And let's face it, that may absolutely just be efficient. But you have to have 4 windows running at the same time. And if you're trying to clean up your desktop, that's just, I don't know, I guess there's a more efficient way is what I'm trying to say. And I'd like to show you that method. So let me show you that. We're going to use a Telnet server. In this case, I'm using TelServe. It's an old BBS Telnet server program that I think Rick Parrish wrote. And I put it into a different folder here. I put it in I named the folder Telnet Server, but it's TelServe. And I'm going to show you the commands here. It's port 23, maximum of 10 nodes. You can change that. You can put as many nodes as you want, and you can have 255, whatever the maximum is for your BBS software. I'm chosen to use DOSBox staging, and I want to explain why. I use this when testing for multiple reasons. DOSBox staging will let you hide the window. Some other, like the official flavor of DOSBox, it doesn't work. It also doesn't support socket inheritance. So there's a reason why I'm using DOSBox staging. DOSBox X does work, but I found it to be a little bit sluggish more than DOSBox staging. DOSBox staging just seems to handle everything perfectly. So if you're looking for some flavor of DOSBox out there, I highly recommend that one, at least for BBS purposes. So you can hide the window. And you're running an external command. I'm going to close that, and I'm going to show you the command structure here. So we're telling it to go into the DOSBox folder using the DOS short name. Now, if you're not familiar with how to, because this is the only reason why I'm doing this, is because it doesn't support long file names. So you have to get the DOS short name for this Telnet program. I think it may be necessary for Net2BBS as well. So how do you do that? You type in dir/x. It'll give you the DOS short name right here. So if you're having a problem running programs in long file names, either using Net2BBS or TelServe, just use the DOS short name and start the software. Okay, so that's how to get the DOS short name. Let me go in here and what this command is. So we're telling it to start DOSBox, and this -no console is the external command for DOSBox before it actually starts the window. We're telling it no console. If you've ever played with DOSBox, it opens up 2 windows, one with a bunch of text in the background. I just told it I don't need that console window. Just launch the window that has the software in it. And then if for some reason DOSBox hangs, somebody didn't log off right, some program hung, if there's no connection, it's going to exit it. It's going to run the exit command. It's just going to close the window. Now this part's important, socket inheritance. We're going to say inherit the socket from the Telnet server. The *H is the command for that. Some Telnet servers may use a %h for the handler, but this one here, it's an *H, which I believe the same for Net2BBS. All right, then run another command. Now this is where these commands are a little different. These are internal DOS commands. So once DOSBox is started up, you have to pass this command here to tell it run a command inside of DOSBox. We're going to tell it to mount the C drive. And we're mounting it as a floppy disk drive. And let me explain why I did that. One of the reasons why I told you DOSBox isn't the greatest solution is because it doesn't support disk caching. Well, the fix for that is to mount it as a floppy disk drive, and it does support disk caching. So if you have multiple windows of the nodes connected, BBS running, well, they need to be able to see files on the hard drive together. And if without disk caching, that is impossible. For instance, drop files, flag files, semaphore files. So that's what this does. It fixes that problem. And of course, I just pass it a label because if let's suppose that there's a piece of software out there that's saying this is a floppy disk drive. This isn't. Well, it's just labeling it hard drive, and that may not do anything at all. I haven't had any problems doing it this way. So, guys, if you're looking for this as a solution, trust me, I haven't had a single problem, and I doubt you will too. So once we mounted our drive, we have to run another command. We have to change directories. By default, DOSBox starts in Z drive with all of its utilities. So we're telling it to go to C drive and then do another command, change directory, change it to your shotgun directory or renegade or whatever. And then you want to run the BBS. Remember that batch file I was telling you about? We have to have a node handler for it. Which node number? We're going to run the BBS. We're going to run it with a node number. So that's what that does. Now let me show you the batch file for the BBS, because that's where it's going to handle all the mappings and COM handling and everything else. Excuse me, I need a drink of water. Throat's dry talking all this much. Okay, so inside our batch file, after we run that, this is where it handles all the rest of the stuff. If you've never programmed a batch file, I'll go over a little bit of this for you, explain what this is. At echo off, all that does is just tell the screen not to display everything that's in the batch file that's being typed out. The only thing that we need to be typed out on the screen is the actual message saying, hey, look, in order to start this batch file, you have to run a node number on it. And you run BBS with node 1, node 2, that's where that handles. And that's what this if statement does. If it detects something, it'll go to top. If it detects nothing, it goes to notice. Your notice tops always has to begin with a colon here. And then, all right, so we're going to go to top. And the top is right here. We're going to set path. I've chosen to inherit the default path for DOSBox because it has all of its utilities it needs. And then I have my own DOS utilities folder, which I put a few MS-DOS 6.22 files in there, such as choice, edit, things like that you need in order to edit files and so on and so forth. You know, whatever other programs you might need. And then of course there's Shotgun requires its own path to be included. The bin folder has to be in there. Utilities, in order to run utilities. And these are extra ones like archivers, which is basically all the zip and rare and ARJ, all the old supported archive files. And then the virus scanner, and of course the fossil driver. You need a fossil driver inside of this. And this program, this is just somebody's program out there they wrote to create a fake file sharing program between multiple DOSBox windows. Honestly, I don't think that's necessary because of the way I'm mounting the drive. And this never worked anyway, so I just left it in there. It's not really necessary. So let's move on to the second part. This part right here, these three that I've highlighted, they're not really necessary. I've only left them in there. I put them in there for my BBS software because it has a default built-in dial-out pass-through mode, which basically means if you want to connect to my BBS and you go to the dial-out menu, you'll see other BBSs. It actually has the ability to dial through and connect to other BBSs, but it uses a modem to do that. So I'm emulating a modem, and I can't listen for the port. It has to have a port assigned to it. I can't do the same port that you connected on, otherwise it'll drop the call. So I randomize the numbers. So I say listen port, so if somebody connects on port 1, it'd be 4001. If they connected on port 2, it'd be 4002. I did the same thing for serial 3, serial 2. And now this one's the important one for you. It's because your command would look like this. I'm going to explain why I pulled off this part of it in just a moment. But you're going to tell it your serial 1 to listen as a null modem. It's a serial port. And inherit the socket from the Telnet server that you passed to it from the Telnet server. And then we're going to tell it Telnet protocol. Now, why did I leave Telnet off? If you leave it off, it turns it into a raw TCP/IP connection. Shotgun Professional, it doesn't like the Telnet protocol built into DOSBox. That's the reason why I don't run the software under DOSBox. I run it natively under Windows on a different server. But for the sake of this tutorial, I'm explaining why I pulled that off. And I often test things inside this DOSBox version of it. So you would need this command here. It makes it possible for people to download files from your BBS. And what is this part here? Let me explain. Mode, this program mode, somebody wrote that. It's supposedly going to change the programming of DOSBox to have a greater baud rate than its default 57600 baud rate. It changed it to 115,200 baud rate. Honestly, I don't think it's really doing it. I think it's just faking it because the transfer speeds are still relatively slow. But in any case, I left it on there. I'm programming all 4 ports on it, or all 4 serial ports on it with the same speed. And then this is our fossil driver. I'm using BNU as a fossil driver. This part of the fossil driver command is switch is to listen for all 4 ports. Yours would probably just be 1, or you could pull out that entire line, but I'm doing 4. You could pull out this whole thing and it would just listen for it on whatever port you're connected on, but you could put just 1 in there. Alright, so F+, that is for full ANSI support. I honestly don't think this is necessary. I haven't had any problems leaving it off, but just in case there's a rare chance that there's some ANSI issue with a BBS program, then you would definitely want that support in there. So I just left it in there as part of the documentation. This is your FIFOs, first in, first out. It's Z0, it sets this basically a command to set it for full FIFOs. Use the maximum number. And then your transmit and receive buffers. I think for DOSBox the maximum is 4096, so that's just playing around with that. Now, what is this part? This is just a utility I have that basically presents a screen to a user whenever they very first connect. It basically is just to help with cut down on bots hitting my log files, eating them all up, and I have to go through log files like crazy. And anyways, it just reduces that. That's the only reason why I'm running this as the front end. So it basically says use on this switch here is 1 would be a modem, 2 is fossil, 3 is digi. Which port number? 1, because obviously this is the connection port you guys connect in on. And then the maximum baud rate. And then of course the password. You could put anything you want in there and display the screen you want your users to see whenever they connect. Now if they don't enter anything, it has a maximum timeout of 30 seconds. So if they don't enter anything, I'll just disconnect them. Bots were leaving my board hung up, and this prevented that. It just disconnects them. And then if error level 1, if they didn't enter a password or they entered the wrong password, it'll go to exit. And then if they did enter the correct password, it'll go to the BBS software. Now, error levels, they're counted backwards. So if you're doing error levels on anything, remember error levels are always backwards. 1, 4, 3, 2, 1, whatever options you have in your menu set. They're backwards from your menu set. Remember that. Okay, then we just tell it to go to Shotgun. Now, no matter what BBS software you chose to use, you're going to use the startup command with the node number. Remember this flag here, this variable? It pulls in the node number that we typed up here whenever we ran the batch file. It carries it down here. So if it was node 1, it'd be N1, node 1, node 2. And then we got to tell it the connection speed. So that's all that does is just start the BBS and go to exit once they log off. It'll go to exit. Now, Shotgun sometimes lists the last user is still on. So I have this utility that basically tells it to listen node 1 again, reset the node to waiting for a Telnet connection. So that way it'll reset the node as being available by someone else if somebody was to say who's online. Otherwise it'd show a ton of people online. Boy, wouldn't that be great? But it's lying. So they're not online. They don't be fooled. Nobody calls this BBS, but me. Anyway, no, I'm just kidding around. It's fun. I'm trying to get my friends interested in this, and some of the younger generation, I don't know. It seems like unless it has pictures in a 60-second video, or not even 60 seconds, it has to be like 20 seconds to retain their attention span. Boy, how sad is that, right? Anyway, that's what this is. And then it exits. That's how it starts up the BBS, guys. We've talked about how to set up a Telnet server, how to pass the socket, how to inherit the socket, how to launch the commands, start your BBS. I don't think there's anything other than just to show you a connection here. So I'm on my computer here. I'm hitting connect, and you see it's just listening. Now, what you're looking at on this screen here, the password program doesn't support local echo of ANSI. Of course, on the receiving end, I see full ANSI screen. If they put in the password, of course, the BBS software has its own ANSI echoing, so I'm able to see that, but not the password program. I just need to fix that. But anyways, I was telling you about this Shotgun Professional BBS. It has a graphical user interface. If you download the terminal and you hit Super VGA, there you can download. Let me see here. You could see where to download the software. I just put it on the website so it's easier to find. It's faster downloads. Otherwise, if you're using DOSBox to host the BBS, download speeds are going to be atrocious. I don't generally host it. If you're hosting this natively in Windows, like Server 2003 or Windows XP or VM of some sort, any one of your choice, the speeds are a whole lot faster. I mean, like this will take you only like less than a minute to download. But here it would be like 20 minutes. Yeah, it's terrible. But if you're running a message board, you won't have a problem. You could let people download files, small files and stuff. It'd be fine. But anyways, come visit me on my board. I'd love to see you guys here, and I hope this video tutorial has been useful to someone out there. Somebody may benefit from it. Thanks, and have a great day, guys.